they totally do completely different types of work, you know. So it's not like something that has any type of specialization. Some of the people will go to data engineer, others will move to data analyst, machine learning, you know, just like what I've tried to provide over here. There is data analytics. Those are guys who only specialize in data analytics. There is business analytics, guys who are going to specialize both in business and also in analytics. There is AI, you know, Python. If you follow about Tesla, you know, these cars that will not have any drivers and all of that. And so for each type of specification that you want, there are also languages that you can be able to learn. And I've tried to list some of them, just a few on it, down below. So it's data science. It's a very broad. It's a very broad sphere. And trying to understand what data science is. Personally, for me, I think that data science it's a combination of various types of discipline. If you have a background in mathematics, if you have a background in technology, if you have a background in business, you are well suited to become a data scientist. You know, a lot of people they tend to okay, well, once somebody sees all the coding that is involved in data science and all of that, you know, you don't want anything to do with it. But when you think about it, um, for the computer science part of it, there is, you know, pattern recognition, there is visualization, data warehousing, databases. So that's the aspect the computer science will bring into the table. For the mathematics guys, you know about mathematical modeling, statistical, you know, stochastic modeling, probability, forecasting. And then there is the business acumen, guys from the business side. So business acumen is, are you able to understand how a company makes money? Because at the end of it all, we are trying to leverage uh, how data science can, in a way, be able to help these companies, you know, to make money. You know, like, are you able to understand what the clients want? Being able to understand how you can help them in decision making. So if you look at this picture, all these fields they depend on one another. You know, if you're only a computer science guy and you don't understand about business, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually help the company because okay, you can be good at what you do, but if you cannot help the company make a decision, uh, it doesn't make sense. So going back to big data. So what does it mean? Big data is a collection of large database in association with semi-structured data like Facebook, tweets, posts, weblogs. You know, they try to collect data from everywhere they can. If you go to, you know, a company can be able to collect a lot of data from your Facebook, you know, Facebook profile. They will be able to know a lot of things about you. So how do they use it? So this type of data helps us to identify trends, insights, you know, and being able to identify the interrelationships between several points, which is very important for companies. So in today's world, why have companies come to appreciate the importance of data science? So that data has been able to help companies to be able to know, you know, their clients in such a way that initially they would have not been able to know. So I like to put it as like these companies can now be able to understand your secrets. A company can be able to learn about your secrets, even if you don't want to tell them, you know. Uh, and I was thinking about an example where, you know, maybe it's a young mom, you know, a mother who just gave birth. You don't want going telling companies that hey, I just gave birth yesterday. But you realize that once you go to the website and maybe search for diapers, and then the next thing that you're doing, you're looking for baby toys. The next thing you'll know, I don't know if you've realized this, the next thing you'll see from the other social media points, you'll now start getting adverts about baby stuff, you know. And what you don't realize is that you have already given the algorithms enough information to know, okay, this is a young mother, she's looking for stuff for her baby, so that, yeah, and they will be able now to be able to focus on you directly. And that's why they are marketing the baby stuff for you. They've already known. And so I was reading on a certain case study on how, I think that there is a link to this one. It's quite interesting. If you can go and look, you can go and read it. I've put in the link there and understand how these companies are able to know about you. So companies are at different points in adopting big data. Retailers, banks, they have predictive analytics devoted to helping them understand the consumer shopping habits, and also going further, knowing their personal habits so as to efficiently market to them. Another thing, when you look at banks can now be able to quickly identify anti-money laundering activities and other cyber crimes. And to give an example of this is, for example, if a bank is used to, maybe you're working in Kenya, you're working for Safaricom, maybe you get 60,000 per month, So there is a trend already that is already there because of data. So the moment when a certain 1 million Kenya shillings will be deposited in your account, these tools can be able to note the abnormality. And what they'll do, they'll raise an alert. They'll say, okay, this is something that needs to be investigated further. And so the personnel will just come and look at your, bank details and see where does the abnormality come from. Oh, it's because of this 1 million Kenya shillings. And then they'll try to understand, did it come from a legit source, And that's what happens, and even in cyber crimes. I think if you're interested, that is a very interesting topic, being able to understand how banks are using big data. You can go and research it. Personally, I find it's a very good one. So initially, companies always thought that data is, it's just a good idea. But right now, it's becoming, it is now becoming essential for keeping up with competition. I think I don't know about Kenya. I don't know about home, but at least in the US, I've seen how companies are ruthless, and Will can attest to that. That if you fail to, if you fail to act on something very fast, you can go out of business easily because of the competition is so bad. So, and that is why I think that even in future companies, even in Kenya, we are still in the growing process, but it's going to be essential for companies to use data. So companies use this data to do what? They get to know their customers better. These companies are able to make better decisions. When you have more relevant data, high quality information, you can be able to make better decisions. You can include information you learn about your customers in your analysis when making decisions related to your adverts, product developments, and areas, and also reduce costs. So I just put in something over there, Safaricom, I think Safaricom, I'm very sure they must have a very strong data analytics department. That's why they're so competitive. Yeah, so this is one of the opportunities that is there for data science, empowering management and officers to make better decisions, direct actions based on trends, in defining goals, identifying opportunities, decision making. You're making decisions based on data. Testing these decisions, you can be able to test. Okay, if we do this, what is going to be the result? If we do this in this kind of way, what is going to be the result? So I have a small case study. Okay, so let's come to COVID. I think everybody knows what is happening to COVID right now, and there is no better example to help us understand data science than how COVID is being used to trying to get us through this pandemic. the same thing that is happening in data. So what they do first, they do the data collection, you know, they collect this information from hospital, the commercial lab reporting, testing sites, you know. Then there is prediction, data modeling, data visualization, result communication, and I cannot stress this enough, being able to communicate your results. This is a very big thing. Otherwise, if you can do all the other stages and you cannot be able to communicate what you learned to help other people make decisions, it's worthless. So if you look at to my right, this is just a figure. This is what we call visualization. This is what we call visualization. And all of this has been made possible because of data, you know, being able to track the spread. So I think I can hear an echo. So when we look at the pandemic analysis, just like I said, we start with the data acquisition, gathering the COVID-19 data and putting it to usable form, having the models, developing mathematical models. And these models are the models that are now used to, you know, predict the future. If you can see what is happening in the US, they try to predict, okay, if all factors remain constant, what result do we expect to get? And then communicating this, you know, the COVID-19 results. And this helps governments now to be able to make informed decisions. You know, think about the lockdowns, think about the international travel bans, think about what else, where to be able to allocate resources, you know, the PPEs, the doctors, they know, okay, in this area we need more doctors because there are a lot of cases. All this is done because of data, you know, and being able to track the spread of data. So I was thinking about COVID and the insurance industry, and if you think about COVID, it's a flu, you know, it's a flu that we don't have data on. And in this slide, I'm trying to explain where if a company lacks data on something, the repercussions, and I've used the insurance industry for this one. Because we don't have any information about COVID-19, it's the first time we are facing this pandemic. The closest that we can think about is the 1918 Spanish flu, you see. So like for the insurance companies, it's going to be very difficult for them like to be able to price their medical products, you know? So what I'm trying to say here, there is irrelevant data. Right now, they don't know what data they can be able to use so that they can measure their risk exposure, you know? In insurance companies, being able to know how exposed are we. You don't want to be in a scenario where you are too exposed such that if everything goes bad, you'll end up liquidating. But the fact that we don't have data to be able to understand COVID, it makes it very tricky. So let's go ahead. What if healthcare plans decide to cover the COVID-19? What will happen? There is going to be a very highly likelihood the pricing will be incorrect. There's inability to correctly price the healthcare plans since it's a new disease. There can be a lot of underpricing. And what this will result to is companies making large losses. You know, companies will make large losses and liquidations, you know. And also another thing, we don't understand about COVID. Okay, we know that there is a vaccine that is almost there. We don't know about the cost of the vaccine. We don't know about if this vaccine will only be a once in a lifetime vaccine, or it's something that you'll have to go through it, you know, every year, annually. You know, I'll need the vaccine this year to prevent myself from COVID. I'll also need it next year. So it becomes very tricky for insurance companies. And also for life insurance. For life insurance, you know, you don't know how many people are going to die because of COVID because there is no data from the past. You see, it's like, what example can I use? Okay, companies can now be able, like insurance companies, they can now be able to know how many people are likely, you know, to die because of cancer, because there is previous data. Because there is if your background is actuarial, you know about mortality. So this is something that you can be able to understand. But with COVID, nobody understands what is going to happen. So I think from there, and this is not only for insurance companies, even for other financial institutions. I think you can be able to relate to it. Okay, so what is the career path of data science? Data science, and what are the challenges? Um, I think most of data science will go to technology. You know, Amazon, Google, Facebook, global. Others will go to financial services, insurance, banks. Yeah, but among the challenges are there is lack of a clearly defined path. The more reason why students are encouraged to have a complementary background, and the lack of a business acumen. So business acumen, yeah, you have to be able to understand. Okay, you are a good data scientist, but you also have to be able to help the company to understand how they can be able to make money. So you can be very good at what you do, but if you cannot be able to communicate how this is going to help the company in its goals and objectives, uh, there'll be poor. You will get poor recommendation, and you might also lose credibility. That is why I encourage people. Okay, you are from an accounting background. Do business. You can take data science, so that once you go back to that company, you understand about accounting, but you also understand about data science. You're from the insurance industry, you know, an actuary, underwriters. You understand about insurance, and you also understand about data science. Uh, so you can be able to help that company. But if you only focus only on data science alone, you can be good, but also you'll have limited capabilities once you go to the financial industry. So this is the Global Skills Index 2019. I got this from Coursera, where it's trying to show the skills in relation to the world. I'll skip that one. So I don't know if you can see for data science, where do we rank? And for Will, let me show where Will Kenya is. Kenya is somewhere here. I know you might not know. And what are the programs that are needed? Python. When you talk about data science, so if you look at it, they're saying we are still how do I get? Oh, yeah. In terms of and this is a global skills index. In terms of data science, you see we are still lagging behind. The penetration is not so much. At Kenya, we stand at 2%. I think we were position 59, categorized as lagging. So that goes to tell you a lot. But if you look at business where Microsoft Excel, you know, blockchain, business analytics, I think this, you know, I'm very sure once we finish high school, the next thing you're told, go and do computer packages. But I also want to challenge Sava and the rest of the team. Right now is the best time, even for the guys who are graduating from high school, market the data science idea, so that by the time they're going to campus, these guys can be able to code. They understand these languages, because that is where the future is. That is where the future is. So are we prepared as Kenya or as Africa? I will say no. I will say no. And also, I will also say it's not only us. Globally, there is a shortage. You see, there is a shortage. Yeah? There is still a lot to do. For starters, higher education, okay, employers are saying they want data analytics, but a lot of higher education, they have not even put up, you know, they have not even started teaching these courses in school. They just recently started. So you find that even global companies, they're now going to look for data scientists outside their country of domicile. At least that's what, yeah. You look at the likes of these big tech companies. Some of them, they go for data scientists from countries like China, India. And by the way, I'll tell you something about guys from India, and I know that will attest to this. These guys, they start coding, I think, once they're done with the high school. And by the time they're done with university, those guys are so good. They're so good. So that's why you can be able to you can be able to tell a lot about why some of these companies, you know. So I think I'm just about to conclude, but what I want to say is that organizations will have to rebuild their foundations in order to compete in this data and advanced analytics era. And for everybody who is considering data science is the future. So um, I would highly encourage if you have a different background, take it as what do you call it, as a complementary. And I think that is where the future is. And also, if you're very good at data science and you can be able to showcase your skills, I'll also encourage you to try for these global companies. This is a skill that is in high demand. This is a skill that is in high demand. So with that, I'd like to say thank you. And then once Will is done with his presentation, we'll get to the questions. Feel free to ask any question. I'll be glad to answer it. Thank you. Will, you can go ahead and start.
All right, thank you, Joseph. Hello, everyone. My name is William. I just wanted to start by saying thank you to the African Center for Data Science and Analytics, and as well my colleague Joseph, as well my friend, for inviting me today. I'm excited to talk to you guys about data science and girls, for those of you that might be in the audience. So Joseph has touched on a lot of really great points, and he has a presentation that he showed you. I'm going to just be talking with you today. I haven't prepared any visuals or anything like that. But just so you know a little bit about myself, I worked with JP Morgan Chase for about 3.5 years. I graduated from University of Connecticut with a Bachelor of Science in Financial Management and a minor in economics. I have a passion for business. I love going through balance sheets of companies, understanding a company's direction, branding, marketing. I have a lot of different interests. I also met Joseph in our studies pursuing our master's degree in financial risk management, and I pursued a fifth, which focused on quantitative risk management. So focused heavily on mathematics, modeling, using a lot of the programming suites that Joseph alluded to earlier. So with that said, let's get started with data science. So what is data science? What do data scientists do? Joseph, again, on this, but to me, I really like to boil things down to the nitty gritty and kind of look at the big picture. So data science and data scientists, they're tackling a problem. Someone has an issue or a problem or a conflict, and they want resolution. And they don't just want someone to give any solution. They want a solution that's backed up with evidence, something that's been analyzed, something that, you know, holds water so that they can back it up if they have to present it to someone else. So it really starts with having a hypothesis, something that you think is going to work, and then trying to set that to the test. And that's what creating your model is creating your test and having a certain failure rate that is acceptable. So with that, you also want to have an audience in mind. So you really need to know who is going to be looking at this solution, who's going to be looking at your interpretation. Because if you don't target them, your analysis might be very meaningless. So you really want to know who your target is. Is it a government? Is it a healthcare organization? Is it a pharmaceutical company, a financial company? What do they do? Who are their clients? How do they make money? Like Joseph said, a lot of it boils down to the simple, basic business element of how do you make money? So if you're a pharmaceutical company, you have to sell drugs. So you need to find people who are sick, people who need help, people who are recovering, who are rehabilitating. If you're a financial company, you want to find people that have money. So you can take that money, so you can lend that money, and that's how you're going to make your business grow ultimately. Data science really comes into play with all of the different organizations, with all of the different industries. So no matter what your interest is, you really can find something in the data science realm that will fit your niche. I would say this is a type of industry and a type of work that you get in kind of what you put in. So if you don't put in a lot of work, if you don't put in a lot of time, if you're not interested, if you don't read and bleed the material, then maybe the person next to you might be more passionate about it. And like Joseph said, you might have two people in the same office working on the same task, but entirely different ways. And if the person to the right or to the left of you is simply more passionate and more driven, is going to uncover every stone and see the why behind every question and what really motivates and fuels trends and things to happen, then they're going to create a better model because they're going to put in factors that are more relevant, that are more meaningful, that really hit home and target the root problem. So with that said, I also wanted to get into something called machine learning. So when you're talking science, machine learning is a really big topic that I feel gets kind of overlooked and sometimes can be confused a bit. So think of these two things differently. So first, data science has a model of the real world in part of it. It's innate in the creation of data science. You have to have context and you have to have the real world involved. You can't make a model that is too abstract or far-fetched. It needs to be accurate and it needs to be simple and it needs to be realistic. It needs to be adaptable and reproducible and explainable. If you can't reproduce this in multiple settings, then perhaps it's too detail-oriented to the specific problem and won't cater to multiple clients or to multiple problems. And if that's the case, perhaps it's not the best solution. Maybe you want a solution that's more versatile. Versus machine learning, this is when you have a very specific task and you have a very specific failure rate. And you cannot allow any loss past that certain threshold. So an example of machine learning might be you need to have assurance to a 99% confidence level. And if your model yields anything less, then it's not going to be acceptable. Versus, data science, you might have a different threshold and a different means for evaluating your performance or evaluating your solution. It can be a little bit less consecutive. So the next thing that I wanted to focus on is data versus context and versus an algorithm. So a lot of people in the data science realm think that just with the data, you can kind of just look at it and get some sort of meaning out of it, summarize it in some sort of way. That's only one part of it. You really have to, again, understand the context of where this data is from, who's the target audience, what am I solving, what's the problem here that I'm finding a solution for, and then you want to create an algorithm. And what an algorithm is if any of you have cooked, it's something like a recipe. It's a very simple, concise order of operations in which you're going to attack your problem. So once you know what the problem is, and you've established the context that the problem lies in, you then create an algorithm to solve it. And that's where machine learning comes in. That's where a lot of the programming suites, like Joseph alluded to earlier, come in, like Python and RStudio. What these softwares allow you to do is you create your algorithm, and if you want to simulate some occurrence or happening, let's say 500 times, well, between Joseph and I, we have to do 250 simulations each then. That'll take a long time. But if we can allow Python to replicate those 500 simulations for us, we can do it in maybe, and that's going to save us a lot of time, and that's going to help us make a decision for a company. Is there a question there? Here's some back.
Let us just proceed. I'm moderating the webinar. You can proceed, William.
Okay.
So that we can have the questions at the end.
Yes, yeah, I'm keeping track of time. Thank you. So again, the algorithm is really just your recipe. So that's creating your order of operations for how you're going to solve this problem. So data science really in a nutshell is taking this raw information and making it interpretable, explainable. And you really want to ask yourself the question, can I reproduce this? Because again, a company needs to solve a problem today, a problem tomorrow. Every day there's going to be new challenges so that they can survive. As Joseph was mentioning, the United States, as well as a lot of other countries, have very competitive landscapes. So these companies, they may have very slim margins, and they have to make sure that when they make a decision, it's a profitable one. Some of you may be familiar with concepts such as net present value. So that's like when you have a project and you have to establish, will this project make me money? At the end of it all, am I going to make a profit? And a lot of these companies, that's what it boils down to. And when you're making a model, you have to look at the factors and the relevance that those factors hold. So if you're trying to determine, let's say you're an engineer that determines roads and infrastructure involved with traffic, you need to understand at what times of day there's peak traffic flows, what times of the day the roads are used more than other times, where are there connectors and different transitions that are going to slow down the traffic so that you may need to widen the road in those areas. All of these different problems in everyday life, you may be encountering and you may be seeing. Someone attacked that problem with data science. They looked at different trends in different, more established cities and saw the cities at these times of day, these were the problem areas. And then now when you're developing a new city and creating new infrastructure and new roads, you know not to make this path a single lane road. You know to make it a double lane road because of the infrastructure that might lie ahead. So data science, I feel like people get overwhelmed in the computer science part of it. I think that people get overwhelmed with big numbers and big data and all. Really, you just have to have an interest for solving a problem and a aptitude for some computer learning, for sure. But you really need to have a thirst for knowledge and a curiosity at solving a problem. And you really need to have almost a obsessive compulsive sort of personality where you want to strive for excellence. You want to, unearth every stone and figure out how things are working and why trends are developing in certain ways. If you're the person that can identify those anomalies, and if you're the person that can pick up on those patterns and those trends, then a company is going to find value in what you have to say, in your findings and your conclusions. In some of the jobs, because I know Joe mentioned a lot of you are looking for jobs, I don't want to focus on a couple jobs because there's so many. I would focus on the skills that you need for these jobs. So from some of the teachings that I've received, we call some of these skills red skills and some of them blue skills. So red skills would be things like data scientists or machine learning engineers, visualization developers. So these are the people that once the data scientists take their conclusions and they've analyzed the data, they create a picture like Joseph showed earlier of the COVID picture. That was a great chart because I don't know if you've noticed on that chart, it had little circles and it had larger circles. And those circles actually represent population density. And it shows the areas that were most inflicted with the disease or with the virus, excuse me. There's also data engineers that are involved with these red skills. They might tweak models and tweak formulas and slightly modify factors to make the model more versatile or make it more meaningful. And you have machine learning engineers, as well as integration engineers. So I know earlier we were talking about big companies, Amazon, Facebook, Google, all these companies, they have what are called integration engineers. And these people, they take all this data and they take the findings and the conclusions and they kind of integrate it into the user face of the company so that what the clients see and what the clients use isn't too abstract, so that it's simple. Because at the end of the day, people like things that are simple. And then on the other side, you have blue skills. So these people might be more in kind of an architecture seat. They might be thinking a bit more bigger picture. So they might look at design thinking, more understanding of like the feel and the look of the end picture for the end user. And also like functioning managers. So these people or like project managers, they kind of make sure that the data scientists don't get lost in the data and don't spend too much time trying to make it perfect and kind of keep their eyes on the prize. So, I mean, really, there are a lot of different jobs just on the skills is what I would say to conclude with, is really the skills are what going to differentiate you from the person to the left or right of you. And again, really the passion and the drive. Find something that makes sense to you, that's meaningful to you, that you want to make the world a better place for, and you can use data science to do it, and it'll make you more powerful. So with that, I think we can open up to some questions. And if you guys want us to hit on any other topics, please feel free to let us know.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joseph and William, for the presentation. Maybe before we open a room for the questions, what we have picked out from your presentations, both of you, just common things, is that first of all, in data science or machine learning, we need something like basic knowledge in statistics.
Yeah.
And that one is in mathematics field. And also the importance of diversity, that you can be an accountant at the same time have data science skills. Then also what William has emphasized is that what we need to do currently is just to emphasize on building our skills rather than looking for jobs, first of all, because at the end of the day, if someone asks you, yes, you are having a degree in natural science, but what can you do? That is one of the most difficult questions that most students have found themselves unable to answer in the interview. So with that, maybe now we can now look into the questions. Let me just pick from the chat. We are having some questions from the chat. First of all, we are having from the first question. I'm trying to pick the questions. Okay. Okay, we are having one question from Pauline Muia, which is directed to Joseph. They are asking, where do you advise one to start from? That is for someone who has zero background in technical skills. So I think you can just be answering the questions one by one as we go downwards.
Okay, let me just answer that one. There is something that Will has said that I think I can concur with it, that you just have to have the interest. You see, it's something you start baby steps. You go step by step, and if you have the interest, you'll not see any difficulty. I hope also that's what you're doing, Sava. When you're training guys, you start. First of all, you are able to understand who you're dealing with, and go step by step. Because personally, for me, I'll tell you about my experience when I joined UConn. In my undergrad, we never used to do any coding or anything like that. I used to only hear about it, but I had no interest. But however, when I came to my master's, it was like a mandatory. You have to know it because you're given projects. You can only do them either in R or Python, and those are your grades. So for there, I had to like force myself. Okay, I'm going to learn these languages, But I really think that for somebody who has interest, you just need interest and go step by step. I can promise you, it's not something that is difficult. Regardless of your background, you can still be good at it. So just start step by step. Like know the level you are in right now. If you don't know anything, I think the courses that are there that have been prepared, they assume that you don't know anything. So don't worry, just start. As long as you have the interest, you'll definitely get through.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that is well noted. And actually at African Center for Data Science and Analytics, we make an assumption. First of all, before someone enrolls, the first question is, what is your level, your background in terms of profession? Yeah, so maybe we can go to the next question. First of all, in the chat, I'm seeing also we are having some guys who have raised hands. We are having a question from Sanchez Sande. is asking, are there platforms where you can train these skills free, or they need payments? If there are, please let us know. So I don't know if William or
So yeah, I can probably offer a few ideas with that. Like I said, you want to kind of build your skills. So I think Microsoft Excel is a great place to start, simply being that Microsoft is a huge company. Bill Gates, the owner, has put out an abundance of information on Microsoft Excel, how it can be used for data science interpretation. And the great thing I think about Microsoft Excel is it allows you to do a lot of visualization. And I'm sure people have heard this saying, a picture speaks 1,000 words. And I enjoy talking and I can talk a mile a minute, but if I can show someone a picture of something, it can do a lot more justice than I can do simply with my words. So Microsoft Excel has all sorts of different charts and graphs, and I would play around and practice with different sets of data and different numbers, and then visualizing this data and it works. Because when you get to other Python or these other softwares are going to just use different methodology and different algorithms and operations to reach the same pictures. They might look a little different. They might use slightly different colors or dynamics, but at the end of the day, they're going to be very similar. So if you're the type of person that can look at a chart and know what that means, or look at a graph and know what that means, that's going to be a skill, whether you realize it or not. The person to the left of you might look at that same chart or graph and not know what it means. The other platform that I would recommend is RStudio has a free platform online where you can practice doing coding. I'm going to find that link and I'm going to actually put it in the chat so you guys can have that directly.
Okay, thank you so much for the response. We had two guys who had raised their hands, but I'm not seeing again. Let me just go to the chat. We are having, thank you, Joseph, for the great presentation.
Hello,
okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, just proceed.
Okay. Hello, okay. I've been learning the Python language for quite some time. Okay, and I've been aspiring to be an artificial intelligence by learning the machine language and also the advanced Excel. So what's the advice that will give me so that I can proceed? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if William or Joseph, you are in a position to take the question.
Joseph, would you like to, or would you like me to try to address this question? And just to recap your question, it was essentially your focus is on artificial intelligence and you use Python and machine learning, and how can you better your skill set or better yourself to be a job candidate? Was that along the lines, or was I missing part of it?
Will, I think that, yeah, that's exactly what he asked for.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say if your focus is on artificial intelligence, that's a very cutting edge part of data science. So I would say you really want to probably be reading a lot and staying abreast of new developments. Anytime there's cutting edge technology, it tends to get old very fast. And what I mean by that is the new discovery yesterday may be out of date today because they discover more new information today. Artificial intelligence, I think, is something that's going to be huge going forward. Companies that I see using it already are like Google. You see them already creating cars that are going to be driving themselves. You have men like Elon Musk, who own Tesla, who say that they're going to have cars that will operate themselves. You have Lyft ferrying services like Uber and Lyft that say they'll do the same thing. So I think with artificial intelligence, I'm not an expert on that area, but I would say what I do know about it is very cutting edge. So I would just say stay very abreast of all the new developments, and some of the bigger companies probably put out some good literature on where their advancements are and where their obstacles are. And I would focus on a lot of like what the analysts say. So the analysts of those big companies, they tend to ask questions like, how soon is it until we have a car that drives itself and picks me up from the airport and takes me to my home? You know, and see what the answer is from the person that works at the company. Do they say, you know, well, we're looking to see that in the next year or two? Or do they say that's 5 or 10 years out? And that'll kind of give you a good target on what their problem is currently. You know, if they say that's going to have in a year or two, then you know you should be focusing on artificial intelligence and, you know, operating vehicles, you know, by themselves, because that's something that's going to be really popular and it's going to be in demand for more than one company in the near future. So I would say read and just stay abreast of all of the new developments in that artificial intelligence space, because it's a very cutting edge part of the field.
Okay, thank you so much, William. I'm seeing that we are having a lot of questions, but because of time, we will be picking just a very punchy questions. The rest we will be answering on, it will be just like a follow-up on emails because the questions are so much or too many. For Joseph, there is a question from Isaac Opio. He's asking, as an actuarial associate at PwC, how does the data science skill help you in your work? I think that's a very important question. Joseph,
Hello, hello,
yes.
Sava, I think I lost you. I think I lost you. Just repeat the question again.
Okay, thank you. There's a question from Isaac Opio.
Mm-hmm.
He is asking, hello, Joseph, as an actuarial associate at PwC, how does the data science skill help you in your work?
Okay, so what we are trying to say is that, what I'm trying to say is that, you see, data science, not only in my work as an actuary. First of all, let me say that right now, as actuaries, we are now in danger because companies have started realizing that a data scientist can be able to do my job easily. I think the only advantage that we have is that we understand the insurance industry. So, you know, what is the work of an actuary? It is to understand, you know, you help companies in terms of being able to reserve enough money so that they have enough money for the future, you know. So we use data science. We use data science for that. You know, we do risk scenario, you know. So for risk scenario testing is where you try to understand, if I take this decision, you know, what will be the outcome? What are the possible outcomes? So you can have the upper limit, the lower limit, you know, staying on a, you know, a certain percentage of confidence interval. And all of this is prediction. And prediction, we'll just go back to the slide. It's all about data. You use the data to be able to make some of these predictions. It's not like, yeah. So I will say that I hope I just mentioned a few: reserving, you know, scenario testing, my Monte Carlo. So all of these are the skills that are needed. And now it's becoming competitive because a data scientist can also do the same skills that we do. So what is happening right now, we have been told to, you know, you guys, you have to upskill or you'll be phased out. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think we can pick again, maybe 3 more questions, then we can conclude there. So in case there's anyone else who raised their hand, you can just pick up because I'm not seeing once more.
Oh, sure. Thank you so
that
much.
We can, okay, proceed.
Awesomeness. Thank you so much for this initiative. Super, super duper awesome. I'm a certified professional data scientist and that, but having said that, it's a piece of paper. We all know that the success and efficacy of a data scientist is based off of their results. Now, in Africa, we tend to have a real problem in that we don't have access to decent data sets. Of course,
Yeah.
90% of our time is spent wrangling data. But as a South African guy who literally was born in Zim, grew up in SA, my parents lived and worked in Mozambique and Kenya. I kind of have like context as far as how different every single country in this continent is. How the hell do we make data science rationale relevant to the stakeholders to whom we're presenting this stuff if each and every bit of data is unique and access thereof is incredibly difficult? Yeah, please do give me a shout. Yeah, I want to know.
I think that's a very good question. That's a very good question. I appreciate it. So yeah, just like we said, this is something that is new. That is why we are seeing that even the penetration of data science is very low, because one of the challenges that we have initially, there was no data that was being collected, and if data was being the data that was being collected, what can I say? It wasn't the high quality data. So depending on each company. So right now, what we are talking about, we have seen there is an opportunity. I think let's think about it going into the future. You see, we have already seen there is an opportunity for this, and that is why we are trying to push it. Look at it this way. 6 years ago, we were not talking about data, even in Africa. You know, this was never the case. But right now, we can be able to see, even in the US, I think Will can attest to this, even in the US, right now, I think maybe they discovered this like, maybe 10 years ago. They have seen now, okay, this is the next big thing, data is now the next big thing. So we are lagging behind, but going forward, I think now we have to take that mantle. We have to, we have to understand that going forward, the data is going to be our gold. And we are the people who are going to make that change. We are the guys who are going to set up companies that are able to collect high quality data, sell it to these companies, so that they can be able to make decisions around it. We know it has been hard previously. And if you try to look at it, our previous generation never appreciated data. They never used to understand what used to happen. But going forward, for us, we now know what data can do. And I think one of the things that we should always do, you always look at some of these other countries. Okay, look like in the US, some of the stuff that they do, just make sure it's also going to hit us back. It's also going to hit us back. We might take some time, maybe there's going to be a certain lag of time, maybe 5 years or, but going into the future, it's definitely going to be required. So I would think that it's now
Okay, I think we're disconnected.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Literally, I'll share my LinkedIn here because why I asked that question, I'm part of a group of about 10 people who are creating the framework, the educational framework for data science related qualifications in South Africa. And I'd love very much for your input. So I'll share my details with you. Thank you so much for the answer. William, Joseph, you guys are freaking awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question, Sabelo, Sibanda. Maybe we can have the final question from anyone who had also raised the hand.
No, I had a question.
Okay, proceed.
Okay, if you can look at the state of Kenya right now, okay, data science, data science, artificial intelligence, and you get like even most actuaries have done that, but you get even if you go to a company and ask maybe for a chance, you get sometimes it's so hard. And okay, an example for me, I've done the advanced Excel, I've done the what more is needed? Okay, to fit into the data science world. What more is needed?
Well, let me take that one. I think the questions are being focused more on Kenya. I think, Will, you can go and then I'll come. I'll
Well, I think presentation and visualization is really where the skills are going to be going forward more. I mean, if you know how to wrangle the data, like someone was alluding to earlier, that's a very big problem, is getting good data that doesn't contain holes, that's not missing, you know, components that you then have to figure out, well, how am I going to deal with that missing component? Do I stretch out other data? Do I replicate, you know, previous input of data? How do I deal with that problem? But it seems like you've got some of the basics, you know, under your belt. So I would focus going forward on being able to summarize and present your findings.
And then just on what Will has done, I think one thing about us, maybe as students, I'll want to encourage, and this is not only about even data science, this is something that always think outside the box. If you find that you're doing something that everybody's doing, you're doomed for failure. So if I go to a company and ask for a job, you know,
I think, Joseph, we keep on losing you.
Connection issues, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. Can you hear me now, Sava?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so I was saying that maybe you can, you know, you can do a project and then you can go and present it to, you know, you can present it to somebody in the managerial positions in that specific company. You know, that will give you an edge. You know, okay, I did a project on, for example, COVID. I tried to analyze it for the Kenyan data alone. You see, that is one way you can be able to showcase your skills, and people, you'll get noticed. You see, you can decide to like write articles about data science and put it on social media and LinkedIn. People get to see that. You see, so the next time you go looking for a job, you'll not be introducing yourself. You'll just be putting a voice behind the face, because people have already seen you in LinkedIn. People have already seen some work that you have done. So they really know that you are qualified, as opposed to going and looking for a job and say, okay, this is the skill that I have. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult. But come up with a project, do something, showcase, go and show it. You know, you can request, maybe a meeting one to just showcase what you can do. And I think that will be, you know, just think outside the box. Don't do things just like everybody.
Okay, thank you. I think that is well answered. Maybe to add on what Joseph has said, when you are talking about projects, you need to have what you call the GitHub account, whereby you can put your projects there, and anybody can now see what you have done directly from there. Maybe unless William had anything to add on that.
I was just going to mention there's a resource called GitHub. It's a pretty powerful platform. You can make an account, and if you really have some information, you have some data, you have some model, you have some finding, you can post it on there. And the three things that I like about it is you can save it, you can display it, and you can reproduce it. So if someone's interested and you're having a conversation with someone, you can actually put your money where your mouth is, and you can say, you know, well, lately I've been doing this, like Joseph said, I've been working on this project and I found this data and I thought about this problem and created this hypothesis. And then I found that in my conclusion, this is what it was. And I created some visualizations to help map that out and chart it for you. Would you like to see? And then you can show them on the internet. And, you know, maybe you're only talking to someone for 5 minutes and the conversation ends there. but then later you follow up. Like I made a friend today, Sabello, and he introduced himself through LinkedIn, and I'm going to send him an invite back. And, you know, you never know where things go. Maybe later, if I was a recruiter, he sends me the, you know, the information from GitHub, I check it out, and maybe my firm has a project that we're working on, and it's very parallel with the solution he brought to a similar problem that he showed me on the GitHub. And, you know, one thing leads to another. But like Joseph said, you have to think outside the box, and you have to network. And if you really, you know, have all the basic skills down, start playing around with them and putting them into practice, and find a problem and make it a solution. And then whoever that audience is that cares about that solution, try to get in front of them and talk to them about it. Maybe they'll be more interested than you realize. Hope that helps.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, thank you so much. I think we can end there. And as I have said, is that we are going to send an email with all other questions that we haven't asked. At also African Center for Data Science and Analytics, we are having a team that has done these data science for quite some years, and they can answer as many questions as possible on data science directly. I have given our contact there, so reach out to us at any time. We don't charge any fee when you are trying to source for information. Also, in our website, we have done a lot of blog posts on data science, so you can always visit there and read more and even ask questions. Maybe going back to Joseph and William, we are so much humbled for your presence and making your time to share more insights on what data science is to many aspiring data scientists, and even those who are just eager to listen and hear what data science really is. So we are really appreciative for that. And for all the participants of this webinar, I hope you have learned a lot today concerning data science. This is our second webinar that we have had in data science, and that one now answers the question on somebody who was asking about mentorship. So we are going to organize as many webinars as, and for the students in Kenya, maybe if things come back to normal, we can even start visiting various universities to mentor at no cost. So thank you each and every person for attending this webinar, and have a nice evening here in Kenya. In the US, I know it is maybe 2 p.m. there or 1 p.m. So thank you so much all, and keep staying safe. Bye.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a great, beautiful.
Bye, guys.
So much. Thank you so much.
Bye all.
See you.